Imagine spending tens of millions of dollars, right? Maybe even hundreds to create this massive, highly anticipated blockbuster.
Oh, absolutely. The kind of money that makes your head spin.
Exactly. You hired the best animators, the absolute best voice actors, incredible directors. You push the project across the finish line. I mean, it is perfect.
Right. It's ready to go.
Right. And then instead of releasing it to this fan base that is, practically begging to give you their money, you leave the master files sitting on an internet-connected server for 18 months.
Which is just, it's mind-boggling.
It really is. You just let it sit there, gathering digital dust while you wait for some hypothetical perfect market window.
Yeah, trying to time the market perfectly.
Exactly. And, well, today is June 6th, 2026, and we are looking at a literal catastrophe playing out right now in the Avatar franchise.
It's a real mess.
A huge mess. It's a situation where the corporate strategy of holding on to finished content didn't just, frustrate fans. It essentially handed hackers the keys to the entire...
It really is a stunning real-world example of how a miscalculation in corporate strategy can completely obliterate a studio's cybersecurity posture.
Obliterate?
It is. We are looking at a situation where a studio actively transformed a highly valuable, finalized creative asset into a massive static liability.
A massive liability?
Yeah, they incubated a crisis purely out of an attempt to, like you said, time the market.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. We are so thrilled you are joining us because our mission today is to unpack this profoundly fascinating real-time crisis.
It really is fascinating.
It sits right at the intersection of entertainment, digital security, and strategy. And we have two incredibly revealing source texts that we're using to map out the disaster.
Two very distinct but connected pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. The first is a set of excerpts titled Avatar Leak, Seven Havens Under Siege. And the second is a piece called Avatar Studios Release Delays and Strategic Vulnerability.
What makes these two sources so vital is how perfectly they lock together.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do.
They really complement each other.
They do. The second source outlines the corporate holding patterns, right? The specific dates and decisions that created the environment.
The environment that led to the breach.
Exactly. And the first source details the violent digital reality of what happens when that specific environment is exploited.
It's like a textbook lesson in cause and effect.
Perfectly said.
So to understand the effect, we really have to start with the cause. We need to look at the timeline.
The timeline is key here.
It is, because as we sit here on June 6, 2026, the calendar math is, it's the most damning piece of evidence in this entire...
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay, let's unpack. Looking at the Avatar Studios release delays source, the author lays out some very specific milestones.
And they are pretty shocking when you actually read them.
They are. They note that the studio has been sitting on an unnamed, nearly finished season of television early 2025.
Early 2025, just sitting there.
It's just sitting. And then, the real kicker, they state that the highly anticipated Legend of Aang movie was, and I quote, basically done by September 2025.
In the context of modern media production and especially digital security, those two data points are just staggering.
They are. So let's do the math on that for you. Early 2025, let's call it March.
March makes sense.
That means an entire season of a flagship animated series has been sitting around for over a year. 15 months.
15 months of just waiting.
Yeah. And the Aang movie, a massive theatrical level asset, has been finished for roughly 9 months.
Right.
Now, I have to push back on this immediately because as an outsider, this seems like corporate madness.
It really does look that way from the outside.
Right. Think about it like this. It's like baking this magnificent, highly anticipated, multi-tiered cake, perfectly decorating it, and then instead of serving it, you just lock it in a pantry for over a year.
While a crowd of hungry people wait outside.
Oh, exactly. While everyone is outside starving for this cake.
It's a great analogy.
So, if the product is done, what possible strategic value is there in delaying it to the point of creating this vulnerability? Are they just waiting for a perfect market?
It's the most logical question to ask, and it gets to the heart of what the source calls strategic vulnerability.
Right.
If we connect this to the bigger picture to understand why they can't just, throw it on a thumb drive and lock it in a physical steel safe, we have to break down how digital asset management works.
Or DAM system called.
Exactly, DAM systems.
Right.
We have to look at how they actually work in modern animation studios and what basically done really means in that context.
Right, because done doesn't mean you just render an MP4 and hit save to desktop.
Yeah, not at all. When a massive animated project is basically done, the creative heavy lifting is over, sure.
The animation is rendered, the voice acting is locked.
Right, the score is finished, but an asset of this scale is never completely dormant until the actual day it premieres.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Well, even if the movie is technically finished, it still has to be accessed by, say, localization team.
For the dubbing.
Exactly. They are working on dubbing and subtitling in maybe 30 different languages across the globe.
So people need access constantly.
Yeah, and it has to be accessed by the marketing department, who are constantly pulling high-resolution clips for trailers.
Social media spots, promotional partnerships.
All of that. And you have QA testers checking for visual glitches on different broadcast formats.
So even if the director has, gone home and popped the champagne, there's this massive logistical tail that requires the files to remain accessible on the studio's internal network.
Precise. You have third-party vendors, international marketing agencies, and internal executives all needing varying levels of access to these files constantly.
Right.
You cannot air gap a project that requires a global coordinated rollout. It has to live in the damn...
It has to stay online, essentially.
Right. But here's where the strategic vulnerability comes in. The studio isn't holding the project because they need more time to finish the actual movie.
No, the source actually asked, what's causing them to delay releasing these projects?
Exactly. They were delaying it for purely market reasons.
Right, so they're trying to optimize their financial quarter.
Yep.
Or maybe time it perfectly with a new streaming platform rollout or some massive merchandise push they has planned.
Yes, exactly. They were holding it to maximize their return on investment.
Right.
But by keeping that asset alive on the network for an extra 9 to 15 months, purely for market timing, they are subjecting their network to what cybersecurity experts call access decay.
Access decay.
Or sometimes it's called access creep.
Access decay? I mean, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi horror movie. Explain how that works in this context.
Well, think about what happens over 15 months at any major corporation.
A lot changes.
Exactly. Employees quit, they get fired, or they change department. Contracts with third-party marketing vendors expire.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Software updates are rolled out. Over time, the pristine security protocols you established when the project wrapped start to degrade.
So an employee leaves, but their access credentials aren't properly revoked.
Yes. Or a vendor's API key is left active by mistake. Or maybe a piece of third-party file sharing software misses a critical security patch.
Wow. It makes me think of a neighbor.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you have a massive state-of-the-art battleship, right, and you just leave it docked in a harbor for a year and a half, it doesn't stay pristine.
No, definitely not.
When a ship is actively sailing, the crew is constantly maintaining it. But left at the dock, barnacles accrue, rust forms on the hull, the guards get complacent.
That is a phenomenal analogy.
Thanks. So in digital terms, those barnacles are the unpatched software vulnerabilities, the forgotten employee passwords.
The orphaned vendor accounts?
Yes.
The studio transitioned from being a content producer, a ship actively sailing, to a static vault guard.
A static vault guard.
And time is the absolute enemy of a static vault. Every single day that the Aang movie sat on that server waiting for the perfect Q3 earnings window, the studio's threat surface expanded.
The barnacles multiplied.
Exactly. They were actively inviting bad actors to probe their perimeter, assuming their defenses were static, when in reality, their defenses were decaying by the day.
Which perfectly explains the reality we're seeing in the leak data right now.
Unfortunately, yes.
The strategy of holding on to this finished content didn't just theoretically increase their threat profile, it directly resulted in a massive real-world catastrophe.
The weakened perimeter finally collapsed.
Exactly. And that brings us to the Seven Havens incident and our first source text.
And this is where the timeline of inaction directly fuels the mechanics of the breach itself.
Let's look at the sequence of events here because the causality is terrifying.
It really is.
The source text states, quote, hackers are reportedly already targeting Avatar. Seven Havens following the leak of The Legend of Aang.
It's sequential.
Right. It's sequential. They didn't just randomly strike the network, they used the Aang leak as a stepping stone.
It's not a shotgun approach at all.
Yeah.
What we are seeing here is the hallmark of an advanced persistent threat, or an APT.
An APT, okay.
When we look at the title of the source text, Avatar leak, Seven Havens under siege. That word siege is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
I was going to ask about that word.
It completely reframes the nature of this event.
Right, because when you say siege in an IT context, how does that differ from what we normally think of as a hack?
Good question.
I think most of us picture a hacker sitting in a dark room, furiously typing, downloading the files, and getting out before they are caught. Like a digital smash and grab.
A smash and grab is exactly what a standard opportunistic hack looks like.
Okay.
A threat actor finds an open port, slips in, grabs whatever data is immediately available, and vanishes. It's a burglary.
But a siege is different.
A siege implies that the threat actors have not only breached the perimeter, they have established a persistent, deeply embedded presence inside the studio's network.
Oh, wow.
They aren't trying to get in and out quickly. They have set up camp.
So they are literally living inside the dam system.
Essentially, yes. In an advanced persistent threat scenario, the initial breach, perhaps exploiting one of those barnacles we discussed like an orphan vendor account, is just the beachhead.
It's just the starting point.
Right. Once inside, the hackers engage in what's called lateral movement.
Lateral
They
movement.
quietly move from server to server, escalating their privileges, mapping out where the crown jewels are stored, and compromising internal security tools so they remain completely undetected.
And the crown jewels, in this case, were the Legend of Aang master file.
Correct. They successfully infiltrated the vault, located the Aang movie that had been sitting there since September 2025, exfiltrated it, and leaked it to the world.
Which is devastating.
It is. But because this is a seed, the attack didn't end with that leak. Right.
Emboldened by that massive success and still possessing the keys to the kingdom, they simply pivoted their lateral movement toward the next massive asset.
Which is the Avatar, Seven Havens season.
Yes.
Which the timeline source told us has been sitting there since early 2025. I mean, it's just waiting for them.
It's a sitting duck.
The psychological toll this must take on the studio is almost unimaginable.
Oh, it has to be a night.
Right. Every IT professional, every executive, every creative who worked on Seven Havens is operating under this agonizing pressure.
Knowing they are still in there.
Yes, knowing that the exact same people who successfully stole and leaked their last movie are currently inside the house, actively trying to steal the next one.
The studio is trapped in a reactive, defensive posture. They are trying to patch the hull of a ship that is already...
Hackers know this.
They know the studio is scrambling, which is exactly why they are actively engaging in psychological warfare.
Yes, and that brings us to the most chilling part of the Seven Havens source text.
The communication. Right. The hackers aren't just working in silence, they are actually communicating with the public.
It's so brazen.
It is. The text gives us a direct quote from one of the individuals involved. They said, quote, "There's more under the tip of the iceberg," end quote.
It's a brilliant, terrifying piece of leverage.
It's a pure flex. I mean, if the leak of a fully finished, highly anticipated, theatrical quality Legend of Aang movie is just the tip of the iceberg,
Right.
what on earth constitutes the rest of the ice?
Well, structurally, we know part of the answer, right?
Do we?
Yeah, the timeline source confirms the existence of the nearly finished season from early 2025 that is undeniably a massive part of the submerged ice.
Okay, so Seven Havens is part of it.
Exactly. But from a cybersecurity perspective, the metaphor implies something far more systemic.
How?
If hackers have achieved the level of lateral movement required to exfiltrate a massive multi-terabyte movie file without being stopped, it means they likely had unrestricted access to the entire internal network.
Oh, wow. Meaning they don't just have the polished movies and episodes.
Exactly. The rest of the iceberg could be anything.
Like what?
It could be raw animatics, unmixed audio stems, confidential script PDFs for projects that haven't even been announced yet.
Oh, that's bad.
It could be the internal email communication of the studio executives discussing the delays.
Oh, the PR nightmare that would cause?
Huge. It could even be the proprietary animation software the studio used.
Really?
Everything.
When a network is completely compromised in a sea, everything is on the... It's a way of telling the studio, you think the worst is over because the Aang movie is out. We haven't even started.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the threat goes even deeper than just the sheer volume of data.
It does.
The force text highlights a specific claim made by the hackers that, to me at least, represents the most dangerous piece of information in this entire scenario.
The multi-user claim.
Yes, the hackers allege that multiple people have access to the unreleased Avatar content.
And that detail is the absolute inflection point. Right.
That's where a severe security breach metastasizes into an absolute institutional catastrophe.
So, explain the why and the how of this multi-user threat for us. As a layperson, I hear multiple people and I just think, okay, so there's a group of hackers instead of just one.
Right, which sounds bad, but maybe manageable.
Exactly. Why does this specific detail imply that the vault doors haven't just been unlocked, but completely blown off the hinge?
To understand why this is so catastrophic, we really have to look at the anatomy of a typical leak.
Okay, walk us through it.
Usually, a leak stems from a single point of failure.
Like one person making a mistake.
Right. It's one rogue employee who puts a file on a flash drive. Or it's one weak password that gets brute forced by a single threat actor. Or it's one misconfigured server left open by a vendor.
Right. And if it's a single point of failure, you can theoretically fix it.
Exactly.
You identify the open door, you close it, and you change the lock, find the leak, you plug the hole.
Precisely. You contain the breach. But if the hackers are telling the truth, if multiple unauthorized individuals now have access to this unreleased content, it implies a complete failure of the studio's internal security architecture.
A complete failure.
Yeah. In modern IT infrastructure, you rely on something called zero trust architecture.
Zero trust, meaning you don't trust.
The basic premise is that even if someone gets inside your perimeter, they shouldn't automatically have access to everything. You compartmentalize the data.
So even if I break into the lobby, I shouldn't be able to just walk right into bank vault.
Exactly. Every internal lateral move should require new verification.
Okay, I follow.
But if multiple people have access to the avatar file, it strongly suggests that the studio's internal compartmentalization has completely collapsed.
Wow.
It implies that these files are no longer sitting behind complex internal firewalls. They've either been moved to an unsecured staging area, or the administrative controls of the DAM system itself have been hijacked and completely decentralized.
So it's not a leak anymore. It's an unauthorized, decentralized distribution network.
It's a hydra.
A hydra.
Yeah.
Cut off one head, two more grow back.
Exactly. If multiple threat actors, potentially operating completely independently of one another on the dark web or through encrypted channels, possess the master files or the keys to the server.
The studio is fighting an unwinnable war.
Absolutely. They might track down one leaker, identify their IP address, and revoke their specific access.
What?
But while they are doing that, 3 other individuals are already downloading the next episode of Seven Havens and uploading it to torrent swarms.
Right.
It makes containment a mathematical impossibility.
It is a staggering irony when you think about it.
Oh, the irony is thick.
Think about the corporate strategy we discussed at the very beginning. The studio intentionally held onto these finished assets for 15 months, specifically to maintain absolute control over the...
They wanted to dictate the term.
Exactly. They wanted to time the release perfect to maximize their leverage. And by executing that strategy, by letting the assets sit on a decaying network, they completely, permanently stripped themselves of their ability to control the at all.
They engineered their own loss of leverage?
They really did.
By refusing to release the content officially, they practically guaranteed it would be released unofficially, on a timeline dictated by criminals rather than executives.
And while we sit here analyzing the corporate calculus, the DAM systems and the mechanics of an advanced persistent threat, there is a third massive demographic caught right in the crosshairs of this disaster.
Some audience.
The fans. I mean, think about what it is like sitting here in June 2020 for a second.
It's got to be incredibly frustrating.
It is. If you are an Avatar fan, you have been living on rumors and breadcrumbs for years. You know these projects exist.
Everyone knows they exist.
Right. The studio has almost certainly teased them, hyped them up, and then repeatedly delayed them. The fandom is the absolute lifeblood of a franchise like this.
Without the fans, there is no franchise.
Exact. And this ecosystem of leaks puts the end user, the fan, in a deeply frustrating, completely unfair position.
It creates a profoundly alienating experience for the consumer.
It really does.
A franchise is fundamentally a relationship between the creators and the audience, right?
Right.
And that relationship is built entirely on trust and anticipation.
Yes.
When you disrupt the official pipeline, that trust begins to fracture.
We see that fracture perfectly articulated in our second source.
The author's quote.
Yes. The author, who is documenting the release delays, inserts a very clear, very personal statement of values into their...
That's a great quote.
They write, quote, "Just to be clear, I don't support or want leaks. I want official releases and an active franchise."
That sentiment is crucial to unpack, I think, because it cuts straight to the psychological paradox of consuming leaked media.
Let's really look at that paradox, because as a fan, the temptation to engage with a leak is just astronomical.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
You have been waiting since September 2025 to see The Legend of Aang movie.
Right.
The studio refuses to give it to you, and suddenly it's just out there. A link pops up on Reddit, or a clip circulates on Twitter.
It's right in front of you.
The human desire for narrative resolution, especially for characters you deeply care about, is incredibly strong. I mean, why wouldn't you click the link? The studio has effectively starved.
Because, as the author recognizes, consuming a leak is ultimately a hollow, compromised victory.
A compromised victory.
Yes. Yes, you satisfy the immediate craving to know what happens in the story, but at what cost to the viewing experience?
Right. You aren't getting the intended experience at all.
Not even close.
You're likely watching a compressed, heavily watermarked file. You might be watching an early render where the visual effects aren't fully polished or the audio mix is completely flat.
It looks and sounds bad.
Yeah, and you are completely missing out on the communal, cultural moment of a global premiere.
Which is a huge part of being in a fandom.
It's the best part. You aren't sitting in a packed theater feeling the energy of the crowd, or live tweeting an episode premiere with thousands of other fans. You are just watching a stolen artifact alone in the dark.
Furthermore, and this is really the core of the author's argument, leaks actively mathematically harm the long-term health of the franchise they claim to love.
This raises an important question.
Exactly. Yeah. The author states they want an active franchise. What does an active franchise require?
Capital, Money.
Capital. It requires the studio to see a massive return on their investment, so they greenlight the next movie, the next season, the next spin-off.
And a massive leak completely torpedoes that financial return.
Exactly. If millions of fans consume the Aang movie illegally now, in June 2026, what happens when the studio finally attempts an official theatrical or streaming release in, say, November?
The audience has already seen it.
Exactly. The box office underperformed. The streaming subscriber metrics flatline.
And the executives don't see the context.
No. When the executives look at those numbers, their algorithmic calculus change. They don't blame their own delays. They look at the spreadsheet and say, the Avatar IP is no longer profitable.
Wow.
They cancel future projects. They slash budget. The fan who consumes the leak out of pure frustration is inadvertently contributing to the death of the very franchise they are desperate to consume.
It is a brutal catch-22. The fan is essentially punished for the studio's incompetence.
It's a terrible position to be in.
It makes me think about this entire ecosystem not as a static vault, but almost as an issue of structural engineering.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Think about the fandom's passion and demand as a massive volume of water behind a dam.
A problem of fluid dynamics and pressure.
Right. A healthy active franchise manages that pressure safe. They open the spillway.
Right, they let some water out.
They release a teaser trailer, which lets some water through. They release a comic book tie-in, releasing more water.
Keeping the pressure balanced.
Exactly. And then they release the movie, and the pressure is safely converted into energy, in this revenue and cultural momentum.
That's how it's supposed to work.
But in this scenario, as we established with those 2025 milestones, the studio intentionally sealed the spillway shut.
Completely shut.
They let the water build and build for 18 months, assuming the concrete of their dam system, literally and figuratively, the digital asset management, could withstand the pressure indefinitely.
But pressure always finds the microscopic stress fracture. Always.
Exactly. The hackers didn't create the pressure. The studio's delays created the pressure.
The hackers just exploited it.
Right. The hackers just found the unpatched software vulnerability, the forgotten vendor password, the crack in the concrete, and they exploited it.
And when a dam fails under that much pressure, it doesn't just leak.
No, it catastrophically ruptures.
Exactly.
Now, the contents, the Aang Seven Havens, are violently blasting out in every direction, completely uncontrolled.
The damage is done.
The studio's revenue is washed away, the animators see their hard work distributed in compromised format, and the fans are left standing trying to piece together the narrative.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of both our source texts, really.
Yeah.
When we look at the entire life cycle of this disaster, we see a perfect storm of failure.
A perfect storm.
The studio's corporate holding pattern, the active decision to delay finished 2025 projects for market timing, created an environment of intense strategic vulnerability and access decay.
That decay was...
Right. That vulnerability, combined with the immense pent-up pressure of a starved audience, essentially invited advanced threat actors to probe the network.
And they didn't just probe.
No, those actors didn't just execute a smash and grab. They initiated a persistent multi-user siege, completely bypassing whatever zero-trust architecture was in place.
They bypassed everything.
They breached the iceberg, proving that the static vault model is fundamentally flawed in the modern digital era. And now, the collateral damage falls squarely on the fans, who are forced to navigate an ecosystem of illegal leaks while begging for the healthy, active franchise they actually desire.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? What we have uncovered in this deep dive is stark, undeniable straight line from corporate inaction to catastrophic digital.
An absolute straight line.
The studio executives thought they were playing a highly sophisticated game of financial chess by sitting on the Aang movie and the unnamed.
They thought they had it all figured out.
They thought they were being shrewd, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But instead, they fundamentally misunderstood the nature of the digital asset they were.
They treated a volatile, highly sought-after digital file like a bar of gold in a bank vault.
And it's just not.
No, digital assets are not inert. They exist on networks. They require constant maintenance.
Right.
And the longer you hold them back from a rabid market, the more you incentivize bad actors to exploit the inevitable decay of your security perimeter.
The timeline of inaction built the bomb, the access decay provided the opening, the hackers lit the fuse, and the fans are the ones left standing in the crater.
That's exactly it.
It is a monumental, historic failure of corporate strategy.
Which leaves us with a final lingering question to consider, one that extends far beyond the borders of the Avatar franchise and strikes at the heart of the entire entertainment industry.
I'm listening.
Given the hackers' chilling claim that multiple people now have access to the rest of the iceberg, we're looking at a scenario where a studio's vault of finished project is irreparably, structurally compromised.
Irreparably.
Yes, if this is the new reality, if static digital defenses inevitably degrade, and if the multi-user threat makes containment impossible once a breach occurs, does it force the industry to completely rethink the very concept of a release strategy?
Oh, that's a massive question.
Are we entering an era where holding on to finished digital assets for months on end is simply too dangerous to ever do again?
Does the concept of the perfect market window become completely obsolete out of sheer necessity? It is a terrifying prospect for studio executives who rely on that leverage, but a fascinating one for those of us watching from the outside.
It's going to change everything.
Because if you spend years building the perfect ship, maybe the only safe option left is to launch it immediately before it rocks in the harbor and someone steals the wheel.
Exact. Launch it before it's too late.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. It has been an incredibly eye-opening ride unpacking the mechanics of this crisis. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.